Simone de Beauvoir. Now, she was a woman. She was a French writer, an intellectual, a political activist, and a feminist. And she said, "This has always been a man's world, and none of the reasons that have been offered in explanation have seemed adequate." What a great statement. Now, looking at corporate boards today and looking inside corporate boardrooms, her words are still true. So, what are we going to do about it? And why does it matter that when you look inside corporate boardrooms today, there are very, very few women? And why is that in 2013? Why does it matter to society? So, diversity at the board table. Gender diverse boards bring great perspectives and great points of view. And those perspectives and points of view bring great discussions. And with great discussions come great decisions. And those decisions drive shareholder value. And those decisions that are made that drive shareholder value are that diversity of thought is the enemy of groupthink. And that diversity of thought can lower corporate risk. Now, if we also look at boards and we look at the diversity and we see how disappointing it is right now, let's talk a little bit about that disappointment and the lack of diversity on boards. And let's look at what it means in terms of power. So when you think of power, you think of those who have the power, who are making the decisions that affect our daily lives. And in boardrooms right now, there is a lot of power in the hands of male directors and not much power in the hands of female directors. And in the words of one female director who said this to me 3 weeks ago in a boardroom on Bay Street, the elite have never willingly ceded power. So that's a very powerful statement. Did you know, for example, that 43% of the largest companies in this country do not have a single female director? And if you look at the over 3,700 board seats in our largest 500 organizations, did you know that women hold just 16% of those seats? Men, of course, the other 84%. In the words of Quebec's former finance minister, the problem is we either have a sticky floor or we have a glass ceiling, but the results are dismal. So why do we not have more women on boards? And there are 3 key reasons. The first has to do with the selection process. The process is very secretive. Corporate directorships are not advertised. Corporate directorships are not applied to. In fact, individuals are considered for corporate boards and don't even know it. And in the words of one corporate director in Calgary, he whispered in my ear one day last year, he said, "We don't want to give up our corporate directorships because these are the best paying part-time jobs in the country." And I thought, that's interesting. How much do they pay? So I did a little bit of research. And the median fee paid to a corporate director in 2011 was $75,000. Reason 2, the selection process is not very rigorous. 80% of board seats are recruited for by the directors at the table. And so they recruit from within their own networks. Therefore, there are many qualified women who go unnoticed because they're not in the networks. Makes sense, doesn't it? There's another reason why women are overlooked for boards. I've talked about 2 of them. The third has to do with the selection criteria. So what, you might ask, does that selection criteria look like? A big focus of that criteria has been CEO experience. So boards have typically recruited individuals who have CEO experience. So what does that mean when most women have not been CEOs at a leadership level? It means that women have been disqualified to sit at the board table. Now, however, I mentioned the 16% of women who are in the boardroom. There are women who are reaching the board table who do not have the CEO experience, and they're doing really well. They're effective directors. And so they're proving that you do not have to be a CEO in order to add value to a business at the board level. So, you may ask yourself the question, are there enough qualified women to fill half the board seats in North America? I think the question can be answered with a simple answer. Yes, and let me tell you about that. In 1997, I created a community of women. And the community I created of women was a community so that women could connect with each other. It was a community that I really wanted to be part of because I had a professional services firm in downtown Toronto. It was great. I had a great company with a partner, and I worked all day with male colleagues, and I had male clients, and I came home at night to my husband and 2 sons. And I really, really, really wanted to be part of a network of women like me. But there wasn't one that existed. So the catalyst was in 1995. The first woman appointed to be CEO of a Fortune 500 company's Canadian operations came to my firm, and she said, I want to connect with women like me. I feel alone. And so my partner and I opened our Rolodexes, and we created a breakfast for her. And we brought together 120 women, all managers and executives in the public, private, and public nonprofit sectors. That was a great morning. And so 2 years later, I worked up the courage, and I said, I am going to do this. I was so nervous. I thought, first of all, what if I fail? And then I thought, well, maybe women don't want to be part of a women's organization. So I did a little bit of market research, and I asked a group of women I knew, do you want to be part of a network where you could come to a speaker series and listen to women who are in leadership positions and hear their stories and learn from them and pay? They said, well, we'd really like to come, but we really don't want to pay. So what did I do? I ignored the market research. And so I bought out my partner, inherited a very expensive lease, did the database research, and over 6 months launched the network in 5 cities. And the network was born. There are enough qualified women to fill board seats, and I feel we are this close to reaching the tipping point. That's because there are conversations now happening in boardrooms that weren't happening even 6, 12, 18 months ago. And the conversations are around the value of gender diversity at the board table. So, what can you do in terms of positive disruption? What can you do to help us hit that tipping point? Here's the call to action. First thing you can do is use your power. Women purchase or influence 80% of all purchases. You have tremendous power. I'd like you to think of a company that you like and visit the corporate governance section of their website and look at the board of directors and see what you think. And if you like what you see, do business with that company. And if you don't like what you see, you can get involved. You can talk to your friends. You can write about it. You can tweet. You have the power to bring this issue alive, Did you know that until 3 days ago, Twitter did not have a single female director? They do now have one female director because of the pressure that was applied. So get involved. Step 2, also make sure your voice is heard. Governments right now at the federal level, as well as the province of Ontario, are looking at this issue and they want to take action. Let your voices be heard. Express your support. Those are the first 2 key steps. The third is, if you're interested in corporate governance and serving on a corporate board, get the skills, the knowledge, the experience, and credentials to sit at that boardroom table. Or, if you'd like, get that experience and give back to your community at the nonprofit community level. Wouldn't that be great to volunteer your time on a nonprofit board? I'm the proud mother of 2 sons. They're 21 and 19. I imagine a world where there is equality and where the decisions that are made in our boardrooms are made by men and women in equal numbers. Thank you.